What is up guys, welcome back to another GeekaWhat video, and today I'm taking you over the biggest gaming PC build I have ever built. This thing is seriously massive and is geared particularly towards gaming at 1440p and a bit of 4K, as well as video editing and streaming, featuring AMD's brand new Ryzen Plus / Ryzen Gen 2 2700 7 series processor. Let's look first at some gaming benchmarks and some Cinebench and temperature numbers, and then I'll jump into the parts I chose and why. Whether it's the latest AAA titles or slightly older games, you're going to see some fantastic frame rates whilst keeping some really nice settings. The Nvidia graphics card is also G-Sync compatible, so pick up a G-Sync monitor and you're going to eliminate screen tearing with much lower performance overheads than the dated V-Sync technology. In terms of synthetic benchmarks as well for the multi-threaded side of things, you're not going to be disappointed once again, and the system stays nice and cool at 100% load, sustained over long periods of time, which is fantastic to see. Now though, let's kick it off with the CPU. The AMD Ryzen 7 2700 is a really fantastic choice, with a base clock speed of 3.2 and a boost of up to 4.1 GHz on certain cores. It works well for multi-threaded applications and also games which like and applications which like faster single-threaded performance. 8 cores and 16 threads works fantastically well for video editing, video rendering scenarios, and also newer games that are optimized towards really utilizing a great number of threads. Overall, building on the success of what AMD has already done at a good price point, and I'm very pleased to upgrade to this CPU. For the CPU cooler in this build, I selected the Thermaltake Floe Riing RGB 280 TT Premium Edition liquid cooler. Now, that name is just absolutely ridiculous. Thermaltake, just shorten it a bit, will you? This thing looks really fantastic and also isn't too expensive. You can get a 360mm version, which will work fine in here, where I've placed the 280, although I wanted to stick as much as possible with 140mm fans all around to keep speeds low and also to make sure this thing was as quiet as possible. The RGB implementation is fantastic and the cooling performance is really solid on the CPU cooler. For the motherboard in this build, I arguably went a little bit overkill. In reality, anything X470 is going to work well with this Ryzen 7 CPU, sitting on the top end AMD chipset and giving you all the features and expansion you could want. The ASUS Crosshair Vii Hero though sits at the top end of the spectrum and takes things a step further. From a fantastic rear I/O with built-in I/O shield, USB-C, as well with 10 gigabits of throughput there. Plenty of expansion for SATA and M.2 drives, multi-GPU support, and support for up to 64GB of RAM. You also get incredible overclocking leverage, and I'll cover more of that in my dedicated review of this motherboard to come, which you can find in the card section here. One other key feature to note is the inclusion of ASUS's AuraSync software. With 4 RGB headers on this board, 2 addressable and 2 of the standard analog variety, you can plug in all the RGB components in this build and synchronize them up through ASUS's fantastic Windows software suite. The choice of an ASUS graphics card and ASUS AuraSync compatible memory, which I'll come onto in a moment, allows you to get some superb system spanning wide effects that look incredible. Really just take a look at it. It's absolutely unbelievable. Talking of the RGB RAM in this build, I selected the ADATA Spectrix D80. Now this is a brand new entry to the market from ADATA, and this is really special. First of all, a huge shout out goes to ADATA for hooking me up with the memory and making me the first person in the UK to actually get hands on with this kit. It is gorgeous. Now this RAM is liquid cooled. Now it isn't actively liquid cooled in the sense of a wider water cooling loop. Instead, it uses a tube of liquid on the top of the memory instead of a traditional metal heatsink. This helps to better dissipate heat, which is especially good for memory at higher clock speeds, and that's where the higher end motherboard and Ryzen Gen 2 CPU comes in. Ryzen really likes fast memory, and the original X370 board sometimes had issues dealing with that. This new ASUS board has no problems at all, and fast memory in this case will really help excel performance. For the storage in this build, your choice is going to be a bit more personal and specific to you, but I'll run you through my personal recommendations. First and foremost, an SSD for your Windows boot drive, your OS, your most frequently used applications, games and files. I selected the Kingston HyperX Savage 480GB. I've used these drives for quite a while in a load of different builds and never had any issues with them. They're also pretty fast, nearing the bottleneck, if you will, that SATA imposes upon them, but are slightly better value than a lot of M.2 drives out there. I then selected a 2000GB, so a 2TB Seagate Barracuda hard drive for all the mass storage in today's build. Hard drives aren't as fast as SSDs, however they're a lot cheaper and give you a massive amount more capacity for the price point, making them a good value option. For the graphics card in this build, this may be a bit of a controversial choice. I went for the NVIDIA GeForce GTX 1070, specifically the ASUS Strix cooler. Now, the reason I went for an ASUS Strix cooler is because it works seamlessly with all the other RGB components in today's build for system spanning, system wide, gorgeous RGB effects. It also doesn't come in at too bad of a price point, although GPU pricing volatility is still quite high, with cryptocurrency mining creating somewhat of a bubble for GPU demand, if you will. For the penultimate part in today's build, the case, I selected the Thermaltake View 71, and that's partly what makes this build so huge. It's a stunning case with tempered glass panels on every single side by the bottom and the back for obvious reasons, and I just haven't got enough good things to say about it. It's going to break your back if you try and carry it up some stairs because it's ridiculously heavy and also isn't that affordable for the mass market, but it has a lot of wow factor. If you're spending $2,000 on a gaming PC, then this may well be the case to go if you really want to turn some eyes. Specifically, I went for the RGB version, which includes a load of their 140mm RGB fans, for a bit of extra pizzazz in this build, if you will. I did also pick up one accessory alongside this case from Thermaltake, which is their sync controller. This allows you to plug in all of the fans into one single unit, which will then connect to a compatible ASUS, MSI or GeekaWhat motherboard. That will then allow you to sync all of the RGB fans and the RGB water block on the CPU cooler chosen to the graphics card memory motherboard, all through the ASUS, MSI or GeekaWhat software suites. They do include their own controller, which works with their own proprietary software, of course with the case, but to be honest with you, their software, it's not very good. So I definitely recommend this affordable add-on just to really make your build look a lot better. It's not that expensive, but I will link it in the description below if you'd like to pick it up. Finally, for the last part in today's build, the power supply, I went for the Thermaltake 850W Grand Power RGB unit. This completes, if you will, the RGB wide build. Is it ridiculous? Absolutely. Does it look quite cool? 100%. It's 80+ gold certified, so it's really efficient. It's fully modular, meaning you only plug in the cables you need, and it has way more options than you could ever need as well, which works well for future proofing. 850 watts is a tad overkill, but will allow for a second GPU if you'd like to do so, although that will mean sacrificing the gorgeous vertical GPU mount used here. But that just about wraps it up for all the parts I chose in today's massive, incredible, gorgeous $2,000 gaming PC build guide. And the system's turned off, how apt. If you enjoyed today's video, smash that like button, subscribe and turn on that notification bell so you never miss another video. Enjoy the gorgeous end montage, and as always, we'll see you next time.